What if the thing keeping you awake at night wasn't insomnia? What if it was something that had been watching you, counting, waiting for the exact moment you finally understood what it was saying? This is the true account of a 20-year-old college student. Let's call him Eli, who spent 3 months sleep-deprived, confused, and terrified in a university dorm room, before discovering that the scratching above his bed, the whispering in his ear, and the invisible weight pressing down on his mattress was keeping a tally of the dead. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the last word Eli heard before writing his story down was the number 5, and there are 5 people in his family. Before any of this happened, Eli was exactly the kind of student every professor loves. Good grades, great attendance, reliable, the guy you want running the group project, the one who actually shows up. He was a night owl, stayed up late studying, slept through the morning when he could, ran on caffeine and momentum. Then came the dorms. He moved in at the start of the semester and was paired with a roommate named Mike. Now, and this is important, Mike wasn't the problem. Mike was aggressively normal, friendly, outgoing, up at sunrise every day. The guy who genuinely enjoyed 6 a.m. jogs. The complete opposite of Eli. But somehow, they got along fine. No drama, no conflict. Just 2 people with opposite sleep schedules sharing a room. For a while, it worked. Then Eli's friends talked him into switching to morning and afternoon classes. Seniors swore it made first year easier, and honestly, they were right. Group tutoring at night, structured days, better time management. It worked perfectly. At first, every single night, the moment Eli was just about to fall asleep, right above his head, scratch, scratch, scratch. At first, Eli told himself it was nothing. Big university, thin dorm walls, international students everywhere, someone gaming late, someone on a long phone call. Perfectly reasonable explanations. He put on headphones. He tried white noise. He bought earplugs. Nothing blocked it out. Weeks passed. The sounds never stopped. Eli started showing up to class looking half dead. Couldn't focus. Couldn't retain information. His grades, the grades he'd worked so hard to build, started slipping. It got bad enough that one of his professors pulled him aside after class and quietly asked if he was on drugs. That's how bad he looked. And then, one night, a breakthrough. Eli noticed something through the window. Tree branches, scraping against the outside of the building whenever the wind blew. He almost cried from relief. The next morning, he hunted down the building janitor and practically begged the man to cut them down. One look at the dark circles under Eli's eyes, and the janitor didn't even ask questions. By that evening, the branches were gone. Eli lay in bed that night with a feeling he hadn't had in weeks. Hope. He thought, finally, I can sleep. The scratching started again, closer this time, directly above him. He turned on his phone, flashlight, and aimed it at the underside of the top bunk above his bed. And that's when he saw them. Long scratches carved into the wood. Not old marks. Fresh ones. Eli's first thought was an animal. He has severe fur allergies. The kind that hits fast and hits hard. So the idea of something living in that room with him sent him into an immediate panic. He tore the room apart. Under the bed. Inside the closet. Behind the cabinets. Every corner. Every shelf. Nothing. He went door to door in the dorm the next day, promising he wouldn't report anyone. Just asking, did someone lose a pet? Nobody knew what he was talking about. That night, Eli decided he was done being scared. He placed his allergy medication on the pillow beside him, pulled on a medical mask, and stayed wide awake, waiting. 2 a.m. Scratch, scratch, scratch. He grabbed his phone and hit the flashlight so fast he almost dropped it. He checked under the bed. Nothing. He swept the light across every corner of the room. Nothing. And then, something whispered directly into his left ear. Not through the wall. Not from across the room. Right. Beside him. The whispering was frantic. Desperate. Words tumbling over each other too fast to understand. And then, the mattress dipped beside his legs. Then near his stomach. Then near his chest. 1, 2, 3. More and more. Until there were 6 different points pressing down around him. Different sizes. Like hands. Or knees. Something invisible was crawling onto his bed. Eli stopped breathing. The weight kept shifting, slowly surrounding him, trapping him against the mattress. And then the smell hit. Rotting garbage mixed with rusted metal. The whispering got louder. Angrier. Something sharp hooked into his mask. the medical mask he'd put on for allergy protection, and tore it clean off his face with enough force to cut his cheek open. He felt warm blood running down his skin. The smell got immediately closer after the mask came off, like it had been waiting for that, like it needed his face exposed. Eli says he started crying at that point. He screamed Mike's name, and just before everything went dark, just before he blacked out entirely, he looked across the room. Mike was sitting straight up in bed, wearing earplugs, just staring at him, not moving, not helping, just watching. Eli woke up alone. His pillow was stained with dried blood from the cut on his cheek. But what disturbed him most wasn't the blood. It was his shirt he'd been wearing, as he had every single day since he was a kid, a small silver cross on a chain, a gift from his grandmother. The cross was still there, but the fabric of his shirt around it had been burned away, not torn, not ripped, burned in a perfect outline of the cross. And that's when Mike finally talked, because Mike had known. He had always known. And what he told Eli next is the part of this story that truly keeps me up at night. Mike admitted he'd been hearing the scratching since the very first week. He moved into the room, and he'd seen it too. Not clearly, just glimpses, eyes low to the ground, reflecting light the way a fox's eyes catch headlights in the dark. Every single night, it whispered to him in his own language. At first, he thought the words were nonsense, random numbers, repeating over and over. Small numbers mostly. He ignored them, until one night it whispered 168. The next morning, 168 people were confirmed dead in the Skitran crash near campus. Mike started writing the numbers down after that. Every single one matched a death count. Accidents, fires, murders, suicides. The number always came at night in the whisper. The event always followed in the morning. Never before, always after. Eli asked the question you're probably screaming at your screen right now. Why didn't you warn me? Mike looked genuinely confused. He explained that everyone who acknowledges the whispers, everyone who responds to them, even with fear, eventually starts hearing them clearly. And once you understand them, the thing gets closer. So he wore earplugs every night, pretended nothing existed, assumed Eli's headphones were doing the same thing. He thought Eli had figured out the rules. He hadn't. Eli moved out that weekend, went back to his parents' house, and for the first time in months, silence. No scratching, no whispering, no weight pressing down on the mattress. He slept. He actually slept. He started to believe it was over, that leaving the dorm had broken whatever connection the thing had made. That distance was enough. He sat down one evening to write his experience out, to get it all down before the details faded. Because that's what you do when something traumatic finally lets go of you. You document it. You process it. You try to make sense of it. And he was deep into writing, hands moving across the keyboard, finally feeling safe when he heard something behind him. A whisper, soft enough that he almost convinced himself it wasn't real. But this time was different from all those nights in the dorm. This time, he understood every word. 5. He sat there, frozen, because there are 5 people in his family. Now, I want to sit with that for a second, because I think what makes this story so terrifying isn't just the physical encounters, the scratches, the weight on the mattress, the burned shirt. It's the system. This entity, whatever it is, doesn't just haunt. It observes. It counts. It tracks death the way a scoreboard tracks points. And once you're aware of it, once you hear it, you become part of the count. Mike found a way to exist beside it by refusing to acknowledge it. Eli couldn't. And now, in a house 30 miles from that dorm room, something has followed him through walls and distance and logic. And it knows exactly how many people are sleeping under that roof. If you've made it this far, thank you. Genuinely. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in Eli's position? Would you have worn the earplugs like Mike? Or would you have confronted it? If this kind of story gets under your skin the way it gets under mine, hit that subscribe button, because every week I bring you accounts like this one. Real experiences, real people, things that don't fit into easy explanations. And if you know someone who swears they've had something similar happen in a dorm, a rental, a childhood home, send them this video. Because sometimes the first step to surviving something like this is knowing you're not the only one who's heard it.